Probably the biggest challenge with adapting the game is designed to put you into Chief's armor. What we're asking people to do with the show is to sort of sit back and say, we're going to present a side of Chief that you just don't get to play in the game.
We are on the set of the Halo TV series to chat with none other than Kiki Wolfkill, the big boss in charge of taking the Halo franchise from your consoles and PCs to your TVs and beyond. She's got a cool name, a cooler job, and perhaps the coolest hobby of them all, if I do say so myself, gaming. I'm Cindy Goodman, and welcome to an all-new Boss Hobbies on IGN in partnership with new Buy Boost. In today's episode, we're going to find out how this former race car driver stays cool under pressure while living in the fast lane. Make sure you stick around because one of you lucky viewers will get the chance to win a real, actual Xbox Series X and a Buy Boost product pack, all thanks to our friends at Buy Boost. So we're on the set of the Halo TV series. You are the head of transmedia for Halo. Kiki, there's a lot going on. There is a tremendous amount of pressure to take this beloved franchise to TV. So how do you manage all the chaos?
Thank you for the reminder.
Hey, are you stressed?
How terrifying
Because
it is right now. For me, what gets me through it is focusing on where we need to get to, right? And focusing on what we want to be able to deliver and why. The why of it's really important. It's for the television series. We want to be able to do something new in Halo, and we want people to be able to experience it differently, and there's such a responsibility. And there's also just the personal, drive of wanting to create something amazing, and you bring all those things together and there's sort of no room to panic. At the end of the day, it's energy management, right? The energy needs to be towards getting to the finish line with something great.
I think that's great advice for general life. Is there a game that you would say kind of switched the light bulb on where you're like, oh, I want to work in games?
The first was the original Doom on PC. I was an intern with a software company, and it was like one of their roommate was working on Doom, so he would bring a test build in for us every night. And it was my first-person shooter experience. And I just remember we would finish work, at like 7 or 8 at night, and then we would play till 2 in the morning. And this is like, we would be on our speakerphones in our offices. Like that was our networking, our voice.
Party chat before party chat.
Yeah. And so I have such fond memories of just what games could be from a social perspective. And then I would say the original Tomb Raider. I was like I can't even imagine like building out this world. And so I'd say from a creative perspective, that was probably, the original Tomb Raider was probably the thing that was like, how amazing it would be to work on something like this.
Yeah. So we're on the set of the Halo TV series. You are the head of transmedia for Halo. Kiki, tell us, how did you get there?
I had been the director of art for Microsoft Studios, and when 343 was sort of born in 2008, that's when I joined the studio as an executive producer. And so at that point, transitioned over and built up the team to create Halo 4. But all before that, I'd been on the art side.
Going from art to something that's more pragmatic, I'm sure it could be scary for a lot of people.
I will say at the time, at Xbox, it did feel like if you weren't a producer or weren't a developer or weren't from test, they really didn't consider someone coming from art or game design to be a candidate for an executive producer role. And I remember having the conversation with Ed Freeze at the time, who ran Xbox, and I was asking, I'm like, why hasn't anyone done this before? And I remember him saying to me, he's like, well, you need to pave the path. And it was like so profound and so meaningful for me. And I took that to heart, and of course, because I love challenge, I love the idea of like, oh, well, I should be the one to do it first. But also he was right. Like that was something I needed to go figure out how to do. And yeah, it was, I remember when I took the 343 role, it was terrifying.
Yeah.
It was terrifying. And, you know, I tried to be really open. I got to hire a lot of that leadership team. You bring on people who are amazing at their jobs, right? So really your job is to clear hurdles for them and get out of their way.
Yeah. So in any career, there's ups and downs. Is there any point that stands out to you where you had to maintain focus, kind of keep the good energy up?
Typically the thing that keeps me going is feeling challenged by something. So in the times when I have felt like I'm kind of bored with my job, you know, I feel like I've done this, I feel like I'm not learning anything. Ultimately, I think for me, I've always felt it was part of my responsibility to find that challenge.
How do you navigate that boundary so that you're not always working and you do take time for yourself? What does that look like?
You know, I used to race cars professionally. I still love driving. I still go out to the track. I paddleboard a lot. The sort of more meditative things that I do is I cook a lot. I love cooking. And I read a ton. And I play a lot of games. And I watch a lot of TV and movies.
Yeah. So when you're playing games, do you have a certain genre of games that are kind of kiki time games versus I'm working and I need to do research? How do you separate the two?
There's sort of two things I love the most. One is I just love being immersed in a world, right? I love being transported somewhere and feeling like I'm like living in that space. I also love games I can play with my husband, like co-op games, you know? And then I've really been enjoying a lot of indie games lately, just because they feel like I can kind of jump in and out of them.
Yeah.
But I have a pretty varied taste in games.
What tools did you use to become and develop yourself as a leader?
You know, at some point in your career, the line between your personal life and your professional life gets very blurry. You know, I think with Halo 4 and building up that team and having such a difficult undertaking in building that game, we were a new team. Obviously, we were taking the IP over from Bungie, and it just felt like all the odds were against us. And what I realized at that point is the kind of leader that the team needed was a person for them, and I had to be able to be vulnerable with them. I had to be able to admit when, you know, in front of the whole team when I'd made a mistake. And like, it was really important to have that kind of transparency, to be able to lead a team as big as that, to do something as hard as that. And so I think that was the point when sort of being a very human leader became really clear as being important to me.
Yeah. Man, I want you to be my manager, like lead me. Huge thank you to Kiki Wolfkill for taking the time to chat with us and giving us a roadmap to success in our own lives. And now, time for the giveaway. All you have to do is head on over to buygiveaway.ign.com, fill out the form, and you'll be entered for your chance to win an actual Xbox Series X. But that's not all. The folks over at BuyBoost are gonna hook you up with an all-new BuyBoost prize package so that you'll have the focus and energy you need to live your life like a boss. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Cindy Goodman, and make sure you join us next time on another Boss Hobbies.